System schedules and selling. So the operational SOPs that I was just talking about is not just for how to book a load or how to input a carrier, how to credit check a shipper, how to do this. There should be at least five core SOPs that you have for the operational side. And remember to refine them and make them simple, but also don't make it too refined where you're the only one that knows what you're talking about, right? So the SOPs I want to discuss today are organizational specific,
Okay.
and it gives you the grand outline of everything on the flow of what we need to do. And your flow is decided by you. Like for me, I've done two different ways of brokering where I take the load from a shipper, then get a truck, or I get a list from a shipper and get a truck first and then get the load from the shipper and build the load. So there's a lot of processes you can do of like when are you going to build the load. I've seen people that immediately build loads right away, which I mean in your TMS system, once you've got the green light from the shipper, you've negotiated, you have hopefully a truck in hand. That's the best way to do it because when you have a truck ready and the load's ready, you have good pair, right? That's half the job. Now you pass the baton to the driver, right? So, but having a time block. So I have a 10 daily strategy. So you need to come up with an SOP that is specific on time blocks. Because you work part time and because this is a little bit here and there with scheduling, and I'm going to get into schedules in just a minute. The operational SOPs will give you like any time you have free, even if it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you can be calling shippers in California. So I just wanted you to know there is SOPs for absolutely everything, and I would love to help you with tracking. I have a progress tracker I sent you, and it's a KPI, and I would just love to track the progress that way with you and I. Um, and are you doing sales tracking with your CRM?
Yes.
What CRM do you have again?
I've created my own.
Okay.
I'm not paying
No,
for
yeah, I don't
one.
blame you, girl. And so I have tons and tons of spreadsheets. So I will say one of my strengths is rigorous follow-up sequences.
Okay.
Rigorous. Like I'm talking about they should get a restraining order on me rigorous. Like, yeah, not really, I'm just kidding. But I'm talking about consistently following up. And I had a no yesterday on the phone, and he didn't seem like he was really interested, obviously, but I had his email and I was like, "Are you sure?" Because he was like, we're not adding any brokers right now." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I can definitely like instead of just saying, "Okay, thank you," I kept going. And then I sent him an email directly after our call, even though he said no. So I can be in his inbox. I want him to just throw me a quote. Just throw me a bone, a quote of something, you know? So I want to always bug these people, but you have to bug them in a professional manner, right? So our sales tracking will help you see your sequences. So a sequence is just a pattern of how and what you do when you follow up.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different than your average CRM because you are working like I would rather 4 quarters than 100 pennies, right? And that's the way you are going to be able to get into the schedule you need is with the four high quality people or two or three or whatever, one in my case. And so if you just put your eggs in that basket, then you're still going to have to track how you're communicating with these guys. And just like Felix, like we did one load with him and we needed to, be over delivery of service and say, "Hey, we delivered, I'm sure you did this," and gave him the POD, but you're also having to continually ask him for loads. Once I with my customer, once I started showing my personality and like really kind of begging her to work with me, not begging her, but I was like, this is why you should work with me. And she was like, it's a bunch of men in here, and I would love to hear a refreshing female that does her job well. And so she started giving me loads she's not putting on her loads list via
Hmm.
email. So you want to be cool with these people. It's like going to a new job where you don't know anyone except for the person that did your interview, and you have to navigate who's who does what, who am I going to be healthy friends with, and who's going to help me on this journey. That's who you seek success. Is this person has it organized, then that person I can do it this way. And that's what I suggest for you, Tammy, is because I suggest you find that one nugget and see how the smoothness goes with moving 3 loads. I only moved 3 loads last week, and it was just about enough for me because I had a lot of teaching to do in between. And so I started to put together a carrier capacity team because I have the loads, right? I just don't have the carriers, which is something we're going to get into in just a minute. So the sales tracking in CRM is extremely important for your follow-up sequences. I
Hmm.
really want you to create a follow-up sequence strategy. Ask ChatGPT and say, help me come up with sales strategies as a freight broker, but I also have a ton of strategies. So, sales tracking, follow-up sequence, ask it about follow-up sequences and sales because sequencing and pipelines and prospecting, sequencing, prospecting, and what was the other one I said? And shipping
Did you
or
say sales pipeline?
pipeline. Yeah. Yeah, that was the last one. So it's all about those 3 things in sales when those are things that are not average broker concepts, okay? Like that's why when you're a business owner, you have to be good at accounting, operations, sales, marketing, all of those things that you have to do. And tracking them obviously is going to help you see those patterns and see what works versus doesn't work. So we can even look at the Felix situation where it was really stressful and kind of crazy, but it was what did we learn that didn't work for us? So we now know, hey, I'm too unorganized for me to be doing this operation right now along on my journey. So I need to get this, and this in place because I saw a load come through and it dropped through the holes of what I needed to know more about, right?
Well,
So
I don't think it was, I think it was a great learning experience because the troubleshooting or the problem solving that we have to do as brokers, I got that on my first load, right? So where my carrier shows up and they're not willing to load him. So working through that and solving that problem.
those fires,
So it
yeah.
wasn't a terrible experience in that it was a failure. It was for things that could have gone wrong, it went wrong on my first load, right?
Yeah.
Me trying to reach out to the pickup location and their phones are down, right? So these are
Hmm.
things that you can't really account for and falls under that category. If it could go wrong, it did that day.
Yeah.
Right. And so making the calls back and forth, sending emails, trying to get in contact with somebody to find out how do we get my carrier loaded
Yeah, that's
and just
tough.
working through the problem. So it was a lot for first,
Hmm.
but it was still, it got delivered.
Yeah.
And
I
I
know
delivered
and that so you're what you're
it
saying is it was a good educational experience, but you would rather have not gone through that experience on your first load. Is that what?
correct. But I'm
Yes.
also glad that I did because I know, hey, there are a lot of things that you cannot predict.
Yeah.
And so I am very much okay with trial by fire
Yeah.
or on the job training. I have no problem with that. But I think for the timing, right? And this to happen at the end of the day, like,
Mhm.
are they going to close
Oh,
before the
yeah, yeah,
last
yeah.
hour?
Time's
It's
ticking.
it's those things. And I
S-
think I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'll say that.
Yes. And so
Because
let's,
on the front end, I can look at where I need to pivot. Was there anything I could have done differently? For that situation, probably not. I'm thankful that I had a customer that was accessible, can and assist with the problem solving. So I'm grateful for Felix with that. But there's nothing I could put in place that would have prepared me for that.
right, right. And that's like a fire. That's what we call them, fires. And um let's look at the Felix situation and kind of go over this next topic of what are times you can't control. That's
Hmm.
one things I wanted to tell you is like we could do time block management, but that has to be just for sales operations. Because your load operation, you didn't know you were going to have to deal with that at the
Right.
final hour of the day. And you definitely didn't know when you were going to be making those phone calls and when you were going to have to send emails and stop what you're doing and send paperwork. That cannot be tracked in a schedule. It's not possible. I've tried to do it. It's not like I'm only going to move loads from 8 to 10 a.m. Impossible because you have no idea when the carrier is going to call to take the load. You have no idea about the times and all of that stuff of what the ETAs. You have to track the driver to make sure you actually picked up. And so you are juggling a lot. So
Hmm.
go easy on yourself. There's a lot to juggle here. But when you have these systems in place and you're making time, like even on days I don't feel productive, I still create like 5 tasks minimum of my day that I can get a little bit closer to my goal. Like even if it's just 5% closer to my goal, or if it's, maybe a waste of time, I don't know, but I'm sure as hell going to try to do things different. And the thing about and the beauty of working for yourself is you can switch up any type of time, like what you're spending your time on. So if you're like, oh, I've got to wake up and make 10 cold calls every day at 8 a.m., no, that's going to burn you out,
Hmm.
like, so the demand of this industry, I wanted to just explain that, as you know, from the Felix situation, like it was not good timing. Like it took way too much of your time. Loads don't always go like that. Obviously, you know that. And so, you might have been able to like one day last week, I had 3 drivers delivering that day. Well, all 3 that one day, I was able to still process it out, do the whole thing. And I just want to say this is just such a lucrative industry. It's very lucrative and it's very hairy. Like my husband can go pick up the kids one day after school and then some days he can't because he's trying to cover a load. And that's kind of what I wanted to just explain to you is you'll learn the dance and the groove as you go. It was new for me as I started a new agency recently and started fresh with my book of business. And so it was very interesting to kind of rework a new system. Like I had to learn a new email, I had to learn where this is and that is, and a new TMS system, which is fine, but I was able to smoothly work it out and somehow we made it happen. And so the times you can't control is just something I want to set an expectation for, and you already know that.
Hmm.
Um, but the 10-10 strategy I was telling you about, like I do 10 new leads, 10 new follow-up calls, 10 new emails, 10 new social media connections. There's a lot of different things you can do with your time. And I just want you to have like Pandora's box to choose from what you're going to do with your time. I have a goal to make 5 cold calls to farmers because I'm learning dry bulk. Totally different part of the industry. We won't go there. But um and I also have on my to-do list work on LinkedIn network. send out messages. I have threads of messages from old shippers from like years ago, and I still follow up in my messages because they eventually will give me a load, and I've had it happen. Like, I sent this guy one time 5 messages in a row without him responding. Then he finally just gave me a quote over Messenger one day, and I was like, boom, there it is. And so we exchanged contact, and there was my lead. That's what all the time you spend on cold calling or prospecting, it's just the phase you're in. I promise, Tammy. It's just the phase of the broker end. You're not going to do these sales strategies every day because you want to get busy moving loads, right? And you are happy with this one or two or three prosperous accounts of whatever size you want it to be. That's up to you, right? And so the demand is a little more stressful than what it appears to be. Let me just say.
So let me
Um,
ask you a question. So,
yeah.
speaking about prospecting, let's say, and I know we started this with flatbeds, construction commodity, but what fell in my lap was a group of friends who are running box trucks who would like to work with a good broker. I don't, what kind of customers are using box trucks?
So, contrary to popular belief, on the broker side, box trucks are very profitable because box trucks unfortunately take them cheaper than the average person.
Hmm.
And on the broker side, I would say absolutely you can go after commodities, and we can go deep into that. I know tiny pipe fitting companies. I know people, just all kinds of different. Um, and I have a shipper for you for that. So and they just do, but it's like one pallet, and that, like, they don't do sprinter vans, and their loads are cheap, but I can at least show you their bidding platform, and you they don't do they always go with the cheapest, not the highest quality. So it's not going to be, again, your moneymaker. It's so, but you get in with one good customer that has to use 26-foot box trucks, that is kind of the research on yourself, like digging in a company and seeing what they like. Because if you know a company that does big dry vans, chances are they do less than truckloads as well.
Hmm.
So, now that can be dove into, like, you still, like, for box trucks, I would open up dry vans and box trucks and sprinters. I would do all three of those that can fit on all three of those types of community common trailers. In the enclosed, you know how we did open deck? We're gonna do
Hmm.
enclosed deck, and that's when you're gonna flip it. Does that make sense?
What do you mean flip it?
So instead of um instead of having just one type of equipment. Well, what I mean by flipping it is we're doing enclosed trailers, and now we were doing open deck. So when we flip it, you're focusing on enclosed commodities.
Well, I
Okay.
guess my question is like, where do I find those customers that would, so I know if we're doing construction commodities, we're looking at lumber companies, maybe steel manufacturers and that kind of thing. But for those that would use box trucks, dry vans, or splinter vans, who are those customers? What type of commodities are they generally moving?
Yes. So box truck um, commodities are kind of different because, like I said, you know that it's going to require an enclosed box truck, dry van, or sprinter van. Depends on, like, my husband shipped a toolbox the other day in a sprinter van and made like $400. And so it's definitely you have your reefer box trucks, you have your 26-foot box trucks, you have this less 20 your like 20-foot, 16-foot think about moving vans. That's what I thought about when I thought about box trucks is, I mean, we're not doing white glove moving services here, but we are doing, everything that like furniture companies, retail and consumer goods, any kind of those things, foods that go in a reefer. Like I see a box truck reefer delivering to my kids' school every other day, and they're delivering milk and stuff like that. So, you can still do building materials. Like Ed, one time he'll tell you I put a bundle of lumber in a box truck and it was tiny. And so it's just about diving in the business world of what these industries are. Like lumber and steel, I know a lot about those, right? But the that's where you'll have to dig your research. I have a lot of research for you. I can send you some information about commodities for box trucks. And like I said, I've worked with pipe fitting, and I would tell you the company, but in case I use this for recording in the future, I just wanted to let you know that literally, you're going to have to go in to dive in to see what these people offer. Sometimes you're not going to know till you talk to them because it's not advertised on their websites. Hey, we use box trucks. You're going to have to think about what goes on a box truck. Like, even if it's toilet paper, even if it's, there's a lot of different options when it comes to box trucks. Those businesses would be start small, start with mom and pop. You know, um, there's so many anybody that has a delivery for a dock, which is dock high box trucks. If they have a dock for a dry van, they have a dock for a box truck. You just look at smaller loads. The box trucks can only take 10,000 pounds, even if it's a CDL driver, fun fact. And so you're going to have to search for businesses that have smaller loads like this. But upon researching, you're also going to find dry van and sprinter van loads most likely, which is why I brought up those other two trucks because that is in the same family. That's what I meant by flipping it, because like for flatbeds, it's step decks, flatbeds, RGN, hotshot. Those are the four people I would search who uses that equipment. But the main question you can ask is, hey, it's Tammy. I just was curious. I found your company and I wanted to learn more about it. What do you guys use to ship your products on? What type of truck? There's nothing wrong with asking that question. You're going to have to make that question very common to say, oh, by the way, just out of curiosity, so I can learn more about your business, I was curious if you could tell me about what type of trucks you guys use. And that is the key maker. Like you're just going to have to ask and research and ask and research. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
anytime you get a prospect, you can't wait for these sales leads to come to you. You have to go get them. You're in the hunting phase, not the farming. But remember, you're just a couple of customers away from getting out of this hunting, and then you go enjoy your big venison steak dinner and you eat on that for a long time, just like you hunt in the winter and you eat in the spring and summer, in fall. So it carries out the farming side of what you're doing as far as sales goes. Um, I know we only have 6 minutes left. I wanted to ask questions and then I'll go over homework and we can
Um,
meet again.
yeah, so I just was just jotting down questions for next time. So what I have is basically look at SOP with specific time blocks and to refine them continually. As far as time management, maybe take the approach of rigorous follow-up and develop a follow-up sequence. Make sure to keep my sales tracker up to date and using that. Consider sales strategies and as far as the scheduling goes, just kind of what is manageable for me. So what I wrote down is to do 5 to 10 prospecting or cold calls, and then look at the follow-up sequence that I have in place for that.
Yes, that is exactly on track. And it's kind of like therapy, you have to do, all of this outside of our sessions. But I wanted to share that the homework aligns with everything you're trying to do.
Hmm.
I do want you to enroll in the broker courses that I have and download the learning documents. That will create extra learning material for you to where you can either print it out and write questions on it, but this will really, really refine what we need to have and make sure there's no gaps, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a coupon for both of those courses. And like I said, it's a pick the meat out, spit out the bones kind of thing. Um, Create your time schedule, what it looks like for you to include all tasks, but create two time schedules. A day, what it looks like when you're not moving loads versus your day of time scheduling when you are moving loads. There's two different schedules.
Okay.
Build 20 new shipping prospects and use things like Apollo or Seamless. If you don't know how to use those, I will absolutely show you.
Okay.
And this is something we didn't really get to go over, but we can write it down for next time. We are going to call carriers and I'm going to show you the loads I'm trying to cover. And they're just sitting on the load board right now, right? That's a very common problem for a broker to have is post the load on the load board and it sits there. Well, you can't wait for it to come to you. You got to go get it, right? And we're running out of time. So I'm going to show you how to get those carriers for your loads. But you're going to want to build a carrier list of these carriers that did a good job for you and take off certain carriers that did not do a good job for you. You
Hmm.
know, broker. Um, and so uh, I just wanted to kind of explain that homework and we need to start building those prospects that get into your pipeline. We'll talk a little more about your pipeline as well and what that looks like and how to be strategic.
Okay. And I'll jot down questions. So next session,